Welcome to another episode of Chef Knives to Go Quick Look Product Reviews. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we're looking at in this episode is the Yoshimitsu Aogami Super, or AS, Tall Nakiri 180mm knife. So the construction on these is 3 layers, and in the center they've got the harder core or cutting steel. This is known as Aogami or blue paper it's actually not number 2, blue paper super reactive high carbon steel. And the heat treat's around 62 to 63 Rockwell. That's kind of the medium hard level. Aogami Super you can take to pretty high hardness levels depending on the blacksmith preferences. So they're kind of middle high road here. Construction is, as I said, 3 layers. So on either side of that hard reactive core steel, there is a soft iron reactive cladding with a kudauchi or blacksmith protective finish on it. So the entire knife is reactive. There's no stainless on it. You've got to take care of it, maybe build a patina on it, and do not leave it wet. Wipe it down when you're done. Make sure it's plenty dry before you put it away. But with the modicum of care and attention and not letting the knife sit wet or with product on it, you've got the great, easy to sharpen characteristics and high edge retention of Aogami Super or AS at your disposal. So weights and dimensions is going to vary a bit from knife to knife because they're hand hammered. So this particular one is 195 grams or 6.9 ounces. The edge length is about 175, and I pretty much measure that from the back to kind of where you'd roll up, and this tip is pretty much sharp all the way up this curve to the very front of the knife. About almost 7 inches of usable blade edge length. 320 millimeters on the overall length. Spine thickness, again, these will vary. This one's pretty thick since they're hand hammered. It's banged out pretty thick on the back side. Then you can see it thins out kind of here, and even kind of thicker, then it kind of thins out. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but anyway. So this one's 3.7 millimeters here, and then about halfway down, it thins out quite a bit. So it's about 2.2, and then we hold that pretty much all the way down to the end of the blade. There's a lot of character on this knife. So it's about 71 millimeters tall, and I measured it at the back and at the center of the knife, and you can see it's pretty much consistent height all the way through. It doesn't get taller or shorter. Handles are nothing fancy, but good serviceable handles. They're octagonal, ambidextrous, walnut for the main wood with a black packawood or stabilized wood ferrule. Pretty nice fit and finish on this one on the handle. The installs, they tend to drill a hole and then probably burn in the tang, so you've got a little bit of a hole gap there. You might want to seal that up so you don't get any moisture down there and make the tang rust. The circumference is about 3 inches or 75-ish millimeters where the ferrule meets the wood, so pretty standard size. Balance point, it's going to be a little further forward, not a ton, but there's your balance point with that particular handle on it. So for me, my pinch grip, that's a little bit in front of the pinch grip, which you'd expect on this style of knife being taller and a little thicker in the back. Nakiris tend to benefit, at least a lot of people think they benefit from a little weight forward balance, so you've got some chopping power, which is what they're about, and this one does that. So you've got that feeling of a little bit of weight to it. It's about 7 ounces, and it definitely feels like there's a little bit of mass to it, but it's definitely not heavy. The finish on this is pretty cool, so let's do our little beauty shot here. See if we can get a good shot. Oh, there we go. Finally, got to get the lighting right. So you can see it's got a fairly textured finish on it, and I think it might have a little bit of lacquer on it as well over the top of everything. But you've got some embossed kanji here. You've got some hammer marks, some kind of almost nashiji or pear skin finish on it. Sorry, I'm looking at it so I can show you. So if you kind of look around a little bit, you'll see some hammer marks there and here and there. So it's got a lot of character. You can see it's thicker on this side, kind of thins down. Same thing on the back side or left side of the blade. You've got some embossed kanji there, a little hard to tell, but you've got the texture, you've got some hammer marks. So this has a lot of character to it. Definitely can tell this is not a factory style standard knife off of assembly line. So it's got a ton of character to it. You can see the grind is fairly low, so this will tend to separate product really well and have good food release at the expense of just a little bit of performance maybe through harder ingredients, but it still gets pretty darn thin right at the edge. It's not super thin, but it does a good job. You can see the profile is quite flat. We'll take a look at it. I'd say out of the box, this is maybe 4 or 5 out of 10. It was not super sharp. It will definitely do much better if you put a good edge on it. And the blade's straight. It's pretty doggone stiff as well. Maybe a little bit of flex towards the front, but it's pretty darn stiff. And overall flat profile. The fit and finish, it's rustic, but there's no sharp edges or anything on the choil neck here or the spine. So pretty much right out of the box, sharpen it up and you're ready to go. If you're not a sharpener, you may want to think about the Chef Knives to Go finish sharpening service you can purchase when you buy the knife, and they'll put a really nice edge on it. That does 2 things for you. It'll give you an idea of just how sharp this kind of steel can get, and believe me, it'll get really, really scary sharp if you wanted to. And it'll also give you an idea of what edge retention is like with a quality crafted edge with not, with no burrs and, imperfections. So a good high quality edge on it. So that would give you a good frame of reference if you want to learn to sharpen, or if you're just beginning and maybe you want to see what a really good sharpening job is like. Think about that. So here is the profile on the cutting board, and you can see it's pretty much just flat as we go. There's a tiny bump in here about right there. You could easily work that out on a sharpening stone by working the edge straight on the stone and clean that edge up just a little bit. That little bump could interfere with your chopping just a little bit, or maybe not. Depends. You'd have to try it, but that'd be a really quick job to just take that high spot off and then make a new edge on it and clean it up if you wanted to do that. But overall, you can see it's quite flat on the profile. It'd be even flatter without that little small high spot there. So pretty cool knife. Got a little weight to it. It's got some cool texture and characteristics. A lot of blacksmith character to it. So it's a really neat knife. So this is the Yoshimitsu Aogami Super Tall Nakiri 180mm knife.